Hey everyone, Pastor John here. I've got a quick update for you guys on our finances as we get into the end of the year. Every December, we start a giving push. We set a goal for the month of December, and we talk about if we hit that goal, that giving goal, what that will mean, how we'll use those funds. And so I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but before I do, here's a quick update on where we're at financially. This year's been a unique year for us, and it's actually the first time we've ever, as a church, entered the month of December behind budget on giving, and we are pretty significantly. In terms of giving, we're down about $60,000 behind where we'd hoped to be at this point. When your entire giving budget's about $450,000 for the year, $60,000 is a lot of money. Now, we're not in panic mode by any means. We don't have like a balance on the credit card or anything like that. We have saving reserves. We've been able to tighten up our expenses a little bit as well. But we certainly need to have some sense of urgency about knocking that deficit out here at the end of the year. I'm going to try to answer a few obvious questions that people might have as we get into this process. So the first one is, why is giving down? And I'm not going to really sugarcoat it. It's a pretty simple reason. Before COVID, we had a lot more people. There were a lot more people who called LifeBridge home than do now. And this year, we're feeling the effects of that financially on the giving side of things. What's the plan? What's the plan moving forward? Well, we've adjusted our expenses, and we expect things to stabilize just fine next year in terms of our finances. Again, we're not panicking. We're doing just fine. But at the same time, I do want to communicate a sense of urgency to our church, because we really do need to do everything we can to catch up by the end of the year here. What's the good news is the next question I was thinking through a little bit. And, the last few years have been really difficult. And I've said before, it was really the first real challenge we've had as a church the last few years. In the early days of the church, it was kind of all good news all the time. And we're coming through, and I think on the other side of a very hard season here. But we've grown so much in this time, and I really do believe that we're healthier than we've ever been. Our trust is deeper with one another. We take better care of each other. Our leadership is stronger, and our vision is clearer. So we've grown in different ways. Our attendance is definitely down. We haven't built any new buildings, but we've grown. And really, that's the challenge that's in front of us right now, is can we get excited about a different kind of growth? Growing healthier rather than growing bigger? Can we continue to invest in the good work that God is doing in the lives of the people who are here when there's no big, exciting project? Because here's the thing, guys. I think our numbers are going to go back up. We have visitors all the time. I believe a lot of those families are going to call LifeBridge home. They're going to find real belonging here. And so I think that the number growth will be there for us. We don't spend a lot of time thinking about that, wondering where the numbers are going to come from. We're far more concerned with the health of our church, so that when we grow, however much God has for us to do that we do it healthier and stronger. If God wants us to be a bigger church, we want to do that in a way that honors Him in how we do it in terms of our health. If God wants us to be a small church, we want to be a small church that still maintains a big vision and heart for God's kingdom, for His mission. So with all of that said, our giving goal for December of this year, of 2021, is $100,000. That's going to be a heavy lift for us. That's a lot of money in 1 month. But we need to hit this goal, and if we do, it will allow us to catch up and stay on track with our goals for 2022. Not just catch up and keep the lights on, but it's really more about where we're going. And one of our big goals for the next year is we would like to begin to explore the idea of hiring a third pastor that can help us disciple people into deeper relationships with Jesus. And this is something we're exploring. We see the need for it. We're excited about it. But of course, if the budget doesn't add up, it's not going to allow it. So that's one big thing we're looking at. Also, at the end of 2020, we committed to giving $120,000 to an organization called the Thehulu House. Many of you have met Darren and Lindsay. Lindsay's from this area originally, and we made a big jump at the end of 2020 to commit to help them purchase and sustain the growth of their organization by moving into a farm that they now own. And we committed to $120,000 over 3 years. And we've been making those payments to them every month faithfully. Some of you might be wondering, if church attendance was shrinking, why did we commit to give a bunch of money away? And the answer is pretty simple. I think in times when things get more difficult, when challenges arise, I think our first instinct is to look inwardly and to think about protecting ourselves. But to maintain our missional mindset and the culture of caring about the good that God is doing throughout the world and in our community here locally, and not just what's happening inside of our walls. In order to fight for that culture and to maintain that culture, we felt like we had to commit and make that push, even in a time where we knew it was going to be a heavy lift. And we knew that when we got to this point of this year, this would be a part of the conversation is, hey, we're giving away a lot of money, even though we don't have the money coming in that we used to have. And so, but ultimately what it comes down to is no matter how small our church gets, we want to continue to have a big vision for God's kingdom across the world. We are not just a place that builds what we have for ourselves and for our families. We care about God's kingdom everywhere. And one of those places that we're investing in, we can make a real impact, is on this little organization called the Thehulu House. We love them, we trust them, and we want to continue to make that investment. One lesson I've definitely learned in ministry is that financial stress is something that brings out people's true character. People show their true colors in times where they're feeling financial burden. And in that moment of financial stress for us as a church, we want our character to be still generous, still outward focused, still caring about what God's kingdom is doing all over the place and not just within our walls. So we are going to continue our commitment to the Thehulu House, and we're going to continue doing our best to fund other good work happening both locally and globally, no matter how small our church budget gets, no matter how small our church gets. But like I said before, I do think we're going to be just fine moving forward. I think we're going to grow again, and we need to hit this goal at the end of this year to kind of get the momentum pointed back in the right direction. So with that said, that's kind of it. That's the goal, $100,000, and we need everyone's help. I'm asking you to come alongside us to meet this goal. And sincerely, I know this sounds weird, but I'm excited for the challenge, and I hope that you are too. Thanks for listening.